What's up, YouTube? Welcome to an episode of my R&B review. It's your boy Reg in the building. I'm going to talk about today is Stevie Wonder. This is his 1985 album in Square Circle. His 20th album to be exact. Singles albums known for are Part-Time Lover, Go Home, Overjoyed, Land of Lala, and Stranger on the Shore of Love. This was released on Tamla, which was under Motown, and it was produced by Stevie Wonder. Some appearances on the album you have Luther Vandross, he does lead and background vocals. Philip Bailey does background vocals. Sarita Wright. Um, of course, you had Denise Williams on background vocal. You had Edwin Birdsong on Yamaha CS80 synthesizer. Earl Clue on guitar, just to name a few. Alright, so you guys should definitely know who Stevie Wonder is. Um, this was originally supposed to have been part of my Motown month, but I got so lazy and I got so busy towards the latter half of September that I decided to save it for this review for today and stuff like that. So by the time we got into the 80s, Stevie Wonder pretty much was literally a legend at that point. In 1980, he had dropped the Hotter Than July album, which I feel like is a very dope album, classic album in my personal opinion. And he was also instrumental in making Dr. King's birthday a national holiday and whatnot too. So that's what most of what he was doing during his 80s. And so in 1982, he came out with the original Musicarium compilation, which I do have in my collection, where it has about 4 new songs, which I'm just gonna briefly skim through and talk about. Do I Do, love that joint. That featured Dizzy Gillespie, jazz legend. Um, that joint right there, very, very, very funky, very soulful, very jazzy. It actually got Stevie 3 Grammy nominations: Best R&B Male Vocal Performance, Best R&B Song. Um, what else do you think? You don't have the other Grammy here, but still. Um, it's kind of crazy too because Dizzy Gillespie, he was, even though Dizzy Gillespie was featured on the single edit, it was just Stevie. It was just Stevie, and it had like Stevie rapping near the end of the song. Love that track, Do I Do. All my Ja Rule fans should know about that track. Then we're gonna get into That Girl. That Girl is another very, very soulful track, feel good track. Stevie talking about him falling in love with a girl and whatnot, and just him making him warm inside. Definitely very, very dope shit. Even the niggas compilation songs are classic. That's saying something. Then we're gonna get into Frontline, where Frontline pretty much talks. It's like one of his political track. We talked about a first-person view about a soldier in the Vietnam War. Um, very, very cool track. That very, very cool track and shit like that. Just amid his political joint, and finally we get into Ribbon in the Sky, which, if you ask me, that's pretty much my favorite song off the whole original Musicarium. I mean, definitely very, very dope track, heartfelt song. Another song where he was nominated for Best R&B Male Vocal Performance. I mean, definitely a very classic song, like the lyrics, the piano playing. Um, Check out Diana Ross's cover that she did. I want to say in one of the Central Park concerts, and also check out the live version that he did in the I want to say the Natural Wonder live album, which, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say no, I don't have that. I have the Conversation Piece album. But yeah, that was just me going through the whole original Musicarium joints and stuff like that. So in 1983, he was supposed to have came out with an album called People Work Human Play, but he ended up shelving that album and instead came out with the soundtrack The Woman in Red in 1984, which had the song I Just Called to Say I Love You, which one of the songs I'm not like a big fan of in my opinion. I just felt like it was a bit too poppy and whatnot. Um, yeah, yeah, I didn't really care for that joint too much and shit. Pretty much also in '85, he accepted the award in the name of Nelson Mandela. Um, when he went on to win the Academy Award for Best Song in '85, and pretty much that actually got him banned in South African radio and stuff like that. I mean, imagine Stevie Wonder's music banned in South Africa, which I'm gonna talk about that when I talk about this album. That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. But so yeah, so by the '80s, he had already dropped a near classic to some people album, a compilation, and a soundtrack. And people it was still saying that does he still have what it takes to come out with some? Does he still have what it takes to come out with some um material that can stand on next to the classic material, the classic period? So 1984 and '85, he was working on this album. He was working on this album right here. Um, I love the album cover. It looks like he's just chilling on like a little beach or some shit like that. I think it what looks like a little vinyl record right there and stuff. I always love that album cover. This is very dope shit. Yeah, man. Yeah, the packaging on this album is very bar to none. Alright, yeah, man. So this album has about, I want to say 10 tracks. Yeah, 10 tracks. Let's get this started. Track number one, Part Time Lover. Very, very cool song. It's like one of Stevie's signature tracks, like in his latter period. Um, Part Time Lover, what I got from that is just basically a couple seeing each other undercover, away from their lovers, doing infidelity. Um, Very, very cool joint. You had Luther, Sarita, Phillip lending their background vocals to this track. Um, it actually got him a Grammy Award nomination for Best Male Pop Performance in the '86 Grammys. I mean, definitely very, very cool joint right here. Classic. And Tupac sampled this joint for Part Time Mother too, off the Tupacalypse Now album. Track number two, I Love You Too Much. I Love You Too Much. Definitely another solid joint from Stevie. Nice synthesizer that was used. What I got from this track was the fact that he was sprung off this relationship. Just him pleading to his female, like saying how much he loves her. Yeah, the synthesizers on this album was very dope. I love the synths on this album and shit, and this song is no exception too. So that's in Square Circle. I mean, ugh, oh my god. That is I Love You Too Much. Track number three, Whereabouts. Again, another one of my favorite tracks off this album. One thing I got from this track is like finding how one wants to find what they can't really find and whatnot. I feel like it was a pretty dope song. A nice little ballad and shit like that. So very cool. Track number track number four, Stranger on the Shore of Love. Um, this track right here is another nice track. I love the chorus that was used on this track. Songwriting wise, Stevie definitely did his thing on this one. Track number five, Never in Your Sun. Never in Your Sun. What I got from that, that's like a little nice little jam. Nice little jam. Not only one of my favorites from this album, but I want to say it's a very like very good track for what it was, what it stood for, and stuff like that. Stevie on his little nature stuff. Then we get into Spiritual Walkers. With Spiritual Walkers, I want to say that track is very noted for like a sense work, and also because of the fact that it talks about Judgment Day, how we all have to face our Judgment Day sooner or later, and stuff like that. So yeah, man, very very cool joint, very cool song. Edward Birdsong did his thing on the synthesizers. Track number seven, Land of Lala. Um, Land of Lala pretty much is another enjoyable track where what I got from that is like people who grow up, trying to see the world for what it is and seeing the being on their own when it comes to the world. That's what I got from the Land of Lala. Nice beat to it. Definitely had a very funky beat. Track number eight, Go Home. This is actually my favorite track off this album. Believe it or not, the song was actually performed on an episode of SNL when he was the host, like 2 years before the album came out and stuff. So definitely very very funky track. Um, Love like the synthesize on this and shit like that. Yeah, man, Go Home, definitely very funky party track right there. Track number nine, Overjoyed. This was another track where it was supposed to have been for another project, and that project being Journey Through the Secret Lives of Plants, and you could pretty much tell just from like the way the song was produced, the synthesizers, the heavy feel to the piano and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, the song pretty much talks about a guy who like fantasizes about being with this chick and just wants to do everything it takes to make that into a reality. Very nice track, very subtle track right there. I love it. And the last track off this album, It's Wrong, Opera High. Just pretty much one of his political tracks talking about, just talking about bringing, unity and justice. And you can tell he was had like the South African incident in mind and stuff like that when he did this track. So overall, I love this album. This is a very, very good album. Is it a classic album? I really would not say it's a classic, but it's a damn good album. And Stevie always makes good to his one when he makes a very dope project. Like he really proved the people wrong by saying, excuse me, by saying that he's still making good music. He's still Stevie and stuff like that. Like he can still like transition to the next decade and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? He can still like make his name known out there. So that's one thing I got from this project. In Square Circle is definitely, definitely, definitely an album that a lot of Stevie Wonder fans definitely should peep into. Like, don't just always focus on the classic period albums, which I love those albums, but the man has so much good things in his discography that people either tend to overlook or they don't give too much hype on. And shout out to Stevie Wonder for actually leaving Motown and getting his label, getting his own label and stuff like that too. So shout out to Stevie Wonder on that. And I did not really want to do this review based on that because, like I said before, I I pretty much planned on doing this like last month, but I was just so busy. So yeah, this is in Square Circle by Stevie Wonder. This was released in 1985. Um, if you can find this album, must have in your collection. I know a lot of his latter albums are kind of hard to come by these days, but they're not too expensive. So that's all the time I have. Stay tuned for more. Peace.